What is good with the YouTube? It is your boy Sean Rock to the represent mandatory thrive, because every day it is mandatory for us to thrive, and I am back again with another podcast style video. And in this video, I would like to discuss calisthenics being the foundational style of training. Now, before I get into why I think calisthenics is a great foundation for all trainees or most trainees, I want to first say that I believe and support and honor all elite styles of training. I don't want to bash or condemn or try to belittle any style of training. And let me just name off a few styles of training that I personally know. You have fitness style of training, which focuses more on endurance and cardiovascular health, plyometrics. And a great example of fitness style training would be something like a Sean T Insanity athletic endurance high intensity style training, or a P90X, or a home workout program that gets your heart rate elevated, increases your endurance, and makes you an overall healthier individual. It doesn't necessarily put as much muscle mass on you, but it definitely gives you functional strength. I've done Insanity before, and when you got me on the court, I was not a great basketball player, but after completing Insanity, I was a phenomenal basketball player. My endurance level was on a whole nother level. So that's the first style of training. Then you have the second style of training, which I'm going to talk about, which is calisthenics. And calisthenics is pretty much utilizing your body as your resistance source, to either build functional strength, to build muscle, to build endurance, and also to build up your cardiovascular system. You can utilize plyometrics and isometrics and all different things like that. That's the second style of training. Then you have bodybuilding, which is focused more around perfect symmetry, muscular development, hypertrophy, and some strength and endurance, but it mainly focuses on creating symmetry and aesthetics in all of the body, from everything from your calves all the way up to your neck, is what bodybuilding focuses on. Hypertrophy. Then you have weightlifting, and weightlifting can focus around pretty much getting stronger, lifting heavier weights, and power. So you would include Olympic lifting, powerlifting, weightlifting, powerlifting. I kind of include them together, where you're focusing around PRs, putting more weight on the bar. You got your heavy compound movements like your deadlifts, your snatches, your clean and presses, your heavy barbell squats, your bench press, the foundational lifts. That's what powerlifting is. And then you have what I would call athletic training, which incorporates, light weights, heavy weights, plyometrics, isometrics, and you're training specifically to be athletic, not necessarily for looks, but athleticism alone. So you have all these various CrossFit. And CrossFit, what CrossFit does is it takes pretty much athletic training, Olympic training, a little bit of bodybuilding style, some calisthenic stuff, and it kind of jam packs it into a style of training. Now, this is why I think calisthenics is a great foundational style of training. Now, I've done calisthenics alone, just 100% body weight training for the last year and a half. And I did it for a few different reasons, because I wanted to see, number one, could you build your legs up without weights. And I didn't get lean, 100% lean doing this process, but however, I put a lot of mass on my legs through body weight training. I'm not saying that you could put as much as you would put on weights, because it's just not optimal to that level. However, if you are determined, you can put mass on your legs. But here's why I think calisthenics is a great foundation, because I didn't only put mass on my legs. I was able to be way more explosive, way more athletic, and the strength transferred over in many different ways. So this is why I think calisthenics is the best foundational training. Number one, the body is made to move. It's made to move. And moving things is a secondary goal of the body. Moving your body has to happen from the moment that you get up out of the bed, from the moment that you go to the car, to the moment that you're wrestling around with kids. And calisthenics, body weight training, forces you to move your body as the resistance instead of moving a load from point A to point B. Not only does calisthenics focus on movement, while you're building muscle, you're increasing flexibility almost to the point of doing a extra yoga based or flexibility or Pilates style of training. You're increasing that automatically when you're doing body weight training. Number two, it's universal and diverse, and you can do it anywhere. So one of the statements that I would like to say is like, I don't need anything, but I'll use everything. And what that means is the goal of any man should be able to learn how to get from point A to point Z without anything if he has to, while at the same time knowing how to get from point A to point Z if he has everything. Meaning you have to know and understand how to produce results being a minimalist and having everything. So being with minimal, you can still produce results. Now, what you have to go through with minimal is definitely different than what you have to go through with everything. So number three, it's extremely functional and utilizes relative strength. What is relative strength? Strength that you can use in everyday life, from picking up a baby, wrestling with your kids, sex, running, sports. It focuses more on relative strength. A number 4 reason why I think calisthenics is a good foundation is you can manipulate the variables with isometrics, plyometrics, low reps, high reps, and you can be extremely innovative. So the beauty of calisthenics is that if you look at all the different people who do calisthenics, everyone has their own spin on the strength-based movements, and you can create and incorporate different styles, your own innovative style of training, because you can be extremely creative with calisthenics. And I mean, for upper body and lower body, there's a census that says that calisthenics is upper body focused. Yes, everything is upper body focused because the upper body is just weaker than the lower body. Number 5, the recovery curve is much more manageable. So you're able to increase technique and training time and become more skilled at the movements because the recovery is much more manageable. So I did calisthenics full body workouts 6 days a week. When I say full body workouts, I'm not talking about some hippie workout that you find in a book that tells you to do 3 sets of 25 body weight squats and 3 sets of 20 push-ups. No, I'm talking low reps, high reps, plyometrics, isometrics, 20 sets, 40 sets, 50 sets, sometimes 80 sets in a day. All this, has been manipulated, and it's very, very manageable. So yes, weights punish the muscle more, so it needs more time to recovery. But when you're talking about skill and technique, everybody knows that to get better at movement or get better at the movement, the more you can practice that movement, the more efficient you're going to be. So this is where calisthenics really shine, because you're able to recover very, very fast and get back to increasing that movement. So when I see people who throw calisthenic movements in their weight training, the movement isn't efficient because they haven't done it with the proper range of motion, because it's a secondary goal, right? When you have to utilize the minimalist perspective and use calisthenics as your only source, you are forced to operate in full range of motion and make every single rep count, which is highly transferable when you go over to weights, because the weights are so dope and so great that you really don't have to have correct form in order to see as many results, because the weights do so much more damage to the muscle because it's coming against the muscle, where when you're doing calisthenics, you're really pushing against, or you're moving your body. You're not necessarily moving the load. Number 6, you can develop hypertrophy, endurance, skills, athleticism, and transferable strength all at the same time. Because you have to incorporate a lot of plyometrics and all these different things, there is a lot of athletic spillover, right? Because of the way you have to manipulate things in order to increase the effectiveness. And on top of that, you're able to do things if you focus on calisthenics that normal human beings just can't do. This is super dope. So everything that looks great on you actually functions great with calisthenics. It transfers over to weight training fairly easy, and the reverse is not true. How do I know? When I started off calisthenics, I was on and off with weights before, and when I started calisthenics, not as, throwing 10 push-ups or 20 half rep push-ups at the end of my set of my weight training. When I went to strictly body weight movements as my only source of resistance, I was quickly humbled by how difficult it was to endure those reps, because it was hard. So once I learned how to manipulate the variables and I went back to weight training, I was so much stronger. Like 3 plates on a squat, 2 plates on a bench press. I was doing these like easy without rest periods. And I just couldn't do 3-4 plate deadlifts without even trying. Now, these aren't impressive numbers. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that these were after full workouts in the middle of different things, and people would come up to my gym like, how are you able to push this much weight with that short of a rest period and that great of a technique? And it's because with the limited resources I had to learn how to train with proper form and utilize isometrics to make add resistance to the moves to keep them efficient once they got easier. And then I had to move to one limb movements like pistol squats and different things where it's so hard to balance on these moves. It's hard to do a clean 12 reps with a move that incorporates balance, and you just not having to move the weight up, but you're actually having to concentrate and control the body. This is why it's highly transferable. I said this one already, but it gives you an innovative arsenal and unlimited creativity. You can do so many creative exercises with your legs. You can do accumulative stress, time under tension. You can mix up so many variables with body weight squats, with legs. Guys that say that you can't build big legs with body weight squats, I'm not saying that you could build them as big as your upper body or as big as weights. However, I've gotten into it with guys at the gym, and I said, let's do one of my workouts, and they were fried and they couldn't believe it. So I could just throw out a simple one right now. You could do 25 body weight squats followed by a 1 minute isometric hold. Follow that with 15 jump squats followed by a 1 minute isometric hold, and then go into 25 body weight bridges followed by an isometric hold, and then go into 25 skate hops and then into an isometric hold, and tell me how your legs feel after that 4 sets. Now you could take that and turn that into 1 set and do that 5 times, and I guarantee your legs will be jacked. Number 8, this is the biggest thing, it builds a solid understanding of training, because you have to manipulate the limited resistance to support keeping your goals with only body weight training, using less in order to make more. Here's an example. If you ever watch Pursuit of Happiness and you see Will Smith, he played the character that was homeless with the child. Now this story isn't 100% true, but it definitely transferred over to real life, right? So all of these other people in the class were all trying to get to a specific goal, right? They all had a goal that they wanted to reach. However, some of them had homes, some of them had other options, some of them, had education and different things like that. Well, Will Smith in particular, he was homeless. He didn't have enough money. He had to study in the dark. He had minimal. So he had to learn how to focus 100% of his time. He couldn't play or chill or relax or do all of this other stuff or take breaks and go get water like the other guys was when it was break time. He had to focus 100%, and this made him stronger, and this is why he was picked, because he was so determined with that bare minimum that he was stronger and was more than a survivor, and he became stronger than those other individuals. See, if I know that all I got to do is go to the gym and slap 2 plates on the bar and do 5 sets of 10 reps, and that's going to take me 5 to 10 minutes, I can be a little more conservative or a little more less determined, because I have access to so much. But when you're forced, which nobody's forced, but I'm just saying hypothetically, when you're forced to be in a position where you don't have much and you need bigger legs to be stronger, to run from lions and all of this crazy stuff, you need relative strength to survive, you're going to get stronger by any means necessary. Your body's going to make the adjustment. Think of this. Think of construction workers, or I'll use myself as an example. I worked for a moving company at a particular time in my life. Dude, listen. These days at this job was equivalent to doing 3 to 4 full body heavy barbell workouts every day. When I say I was eating 7,000 calories a day, I was eating 7,000 calories a day because I was burning so much calories. My body was so tore up from lifting for about 10 to 12 hours a day. You know, after 3 days, I got sick. My body was breaking down and I wanted to quit. But after about 2 weeks of working for that company, my body had made the necessary adjustment. I lost so much weight during this time. Why? Because my body had went into survival mode. The body's going to make the adjustment in order to survive. So calisthenics teaches you a beastly, raw, energetic, guerrilla warfare type of mentality. And that's why I think it's a great foundational style of training and will help as you ascend into bodybuilding, or as you ascend into powerlifting, or as you ascend into CrossFit, or as you ascend into MMA, or, you know, tricking, or any style of workout. That's why I think it's a great foundation. I'm not saying it's the only foundation. I'm speaking from my experience. Now, I will go on the record and say I think it's phenomenal to incorporate all styles of workout in your training. I don't think people should work out, because when I first started off lifting weights, doing fitness workouts, and doing bodybuilding, I was doing just that, working out. Meaning it was an ends to a mean. I wasn't trying to accomplish anything other than either weight loss or looking good. Those were my goals. Calisthenics for me personally became my foundation. And then I began training and I stopped working out. So even at 220, 240, 210, 190, 175, because I began to train with calisthenics, my body can do crazy movements. Even at heavy weights, I can jump super high and do these big old box jumps or whatever on the plyometric things. And people are like, how can you do that and you're 200 pounds and you're 5'8"? That all that foundation has come from I needed to use plyometrics in order to build my legs bigger. Isometrics and plyometrics, going into a 30-second isometric hold, then doing a slow body weight squat, and then exploding for 5 plyometric squat jumps, and then going back down into isometric hold for another 30 seconds, and then doing a slow body weight squat, and then exploding into 5 plyometric squat jumps. This type of stuff made me explosive. Everybody should incorporate some bodybuilding, some powerlifting, and all of these different styles of training. But I believe that calisthenics is a good foundation. And I'm a calisthenics athlete. So I train for calisthenics and I supplement my calisthenics goals with heavy barbell squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy bench press, and explosive athletic moves and hit cardio and boxing and all backflips, tricking, and all of that stuff. But my foundation has been laid through calisthenics, and then I extended into weight training. But once I extended, I began training and not working out. Now I understand reps, sets, recovery on a whole nother level, because I followed a minimalist approach with calisthenics, body weight only. And I know for a fact that you can build muscle, strength, functional strength with calisthenics. Will it compete with weight training? Will your muscles be as full, as hard as weight training? Absolutely not, to a certain degree. Will it transfer over? Yes. Is there some limitations or some pros and cons? Absolutely. But what I'm saying is all of these things can be really negated with proper knowledge and understanding of training. I don't see why someone would only stick to bodyweight training, but if you do, it is to a certain degree doable, or it is definitely to a certain degree doable to put a certain amount of muscle on the body before ascending to moving to weights. Now, will it do it as fast as weights? Absolutely not. You're looking at much more time and much more dedication in a day, but you have to look at what you gain on the opposite end. So I hope that helps. Remember, dream big, work hard, live great, don't stop. It's your boy Sean Rock. Till I'm out. Peace.